It's a lovely round walk through Crestbrook Dale on Easter Sunday. I actually got up at 5:30 this morning out of choice. I've not been to Bakewell Church with John. I've had a sabbatical, a self-imposed sabbatical for a few months since Christmas, so I was really looking forward to it. And it was nice to see John and one or two visitors in the usual place at the usual time, 6 o'clock. And then there was a whole coach load. There was a man in a white frock with lighting a bonfire in the barbecue outside. There was a group of followers with candles, and they all processed into church at 6 o'clock, just gone, and rampaged through the church singing "He is risen," quite spoiling the silent atmosphere in my opinion. And they continued to the chancel where the choir stalls are, and John and I and visitors were just sitting quietly minding our own business, and they kept chanting and singing and reading long passages from the Bible, including the whole of, did you know there are 2 creation stories in Genesis? There's the short version and the long version, and they blooming read the whole long version. Well, honestly, I couldn't wait to get out. Terrible. It was very rude of me. It was so rude. When I got to my car with a coffee, I actually felt obliged, well, I wanted to send a message of apology to the vicar, who rather gratefully, I suppose, is retiring next month. So probably just as well I sent him a kindly message. Anyway, Easter Sunday, what's that all about? On the 3rd day he rose again. Well, I think I might be excommunicated for what follows. Being a long-term evangelical Christian, I know exactly what I'm supposed to believe. But do I, my friends, do I? Well, if you watched previous videos, you know one's entitled "I no longer need to believe." Well, it applies to the physical resurrection. How come, says you? Isn't that the crux, if you'll excuse the pun, of the Christian religion? Well, it might be for those who believe it, but I no longer believe it. And not just on a whim. You might say on a whim and a prayer. Actually, the earliest record of the resurrection is not in the Gospels, which even the earliest Gospel is Mark, which is I think some 70 years after the crucifixion. And if you read Mark's Gospel, you'll see that it really finishes at the empty tomb, and the angel saying, "He is not here. Why do you seek him here? He's not here." And so that's the start of it. But before then, the earliest account of the resurrection of Jesus is in the letters of Paul. Now, Paul was an intellectual. He was before he was converted on the road to Damascus, which we're all familiar with. He was a raving Manichaean, sort of very strict anti-Christian he was a sort of I can't think of the persecutor, and he heard that voice, didn't he, on the road to Damascus? Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Well, so Saul, who then became Paul, he knew the Jewish scriptures inside out. So we can rely on his words. He was a bit of an intellectual, I think you'll agree. And the first mention of his encounter with the risen Christ, he makes it abundantly clear that it was not in the flesh, it was in the spirit. And he says very explicitly, for flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God or inhabit the kingdom of God. Well, that gets overlooked. It's only the later Gospels, Matthew, Luke and John, that go a step further, and they're later than Mark. And so it's a bit of an addendum, the physical resurrection, as though it was a sort of an afterthought of a fledgling church organisation. And they sort of corroborated sightings, and of course there's the doubting Thomas story, unless I put my finger in the holes. So this is all a part of the Evangelical Protestant Christian dogma, and I've taken that as read. But until recent years, when it's a hard one to swallow, a physical resurrection. And I'll tell you what my reason, for what it's worth. I don't need to persuade you or anybody of it, but each to their own. And my there's a strong theme in sort of evangelical Christian theology of a physical resurrection, hopefully in heaven, which is sort of the accepted, where you'll be reunited with your loved ones in bodily form. Well, as I have explored, for want of a better word, the spiritual life, the spiritual path these past, I guess I've been an apprentice mystic for about 15 or 20 years now. So this is a well-trodden path, or a well-ploughed furrow, if I can put it that way. And it seems to me that the whole goal, you see, very difficult using words, if you like, the end point, shall we say, of the human journey is union. And this is a spiritual union, and not one in which you will keep your favourite human costume, your personality costume, which is a fleeting thing, but it's the thing that will dissolve, but what remains, and that's pure spirit. In my experience, or detectoring, it's pure spirit or source. That's where we've come from and where we're ending up. A bit like this round walk, except I'm ending up in the pub for lunch. But physical resurrection, I don't think so. Now this is a big no-no. I might be found out, as Danny and Champions of the World sing. Sooner or later we all get found out. Well, maybe I've been found out, but it doesn't seem necessary for an all-seeing God to expect you to do intellectual or logical somersaults over a physical resurrection. That does not carry weight for me. But on this Easter Sunday, very much a resurrection of new life in the Spirit. Sure. And we are renewed day by day, moment by moment, I would say, as we become one with the Spirit. I think that's where it's heading, and I think that's what I celebrate on Easter Sunday. Union. Don't tell the vicar.